Well, welcome folks to the October 16th, 2017 Milton Town Selectmen's meeting. If you could stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Look at that lovely crowd right there. All the smiles. Anyways, first on the on new business is we have the Conservation Commission alternate position applicant, our very own Justin Bellin, and he's here tonight. But we do have a letter of that he submitted to the board. Did you guys have a chance to read it?
Yep.
And would you like me to read this?
You want to?
So anyways, Justin, he is, I'm writing this letter in the interest of being considered for the appointment of the vacant alternate position of the Milton Conservation Commission for the term expiring in March of 2019. I'm currently involved as a lieutenant in advanced EMT for the fire department and work full-time for the New Hampshire Division of Forests and Lands. Through the fire department, I have worked on wildland fire prevention and our department wildland fire operations. At the New Hampshire Division of the Forests and the Lands, I worked in the Lands Management Bureau, working primarily with our state's mountaintop communication sites, but I also work in wildland fire and been involved in a lot of forest management and protection projects. I feel that I could bring my experience in the public safety and at New Hampshire Forests and Lands as good use and could bring some younger
Perspective.
yeah, thank you, to the Conservation Commission. I also feel that this would be an appropriate group for me to become involved in doing my part in taking care of and serving the town I'm proud to call home. I would like to thank the board consideration of appointing this alternate position and look forward to hearing from you soon. Regards, Mr. Justin Bella. So anyways, I've been working with Justin for the past month on the Land Forest Committee subcommittee, and he's brought, you know, I think he's been a huge asset on that, and he's been helping us out a lot. And my recommendations definitely would to make him part of the you know, appoint him to the vacant alternate position for the Milton Conservation. So actually, that'd be my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Justin.
Do you just for a moment?
And Pat, that brings up one thing, if you don't mind, real quick. They are going to work on this weekend coming on the buildings on Casey. Is there any way we could, what we talked about, get the dump?
Check into it on Thursday when the roof inspector work.
Okay.
We'll try to have 30 hour available and on site for Friday night.
Perfect, because they're just going to throw the roofs in it, and so that'd be wonderful. So up next, discussion on selling town property on Spruce Lane. So I asked this to be put on the agenda. I didn't know, you know, of course this property is a little different than the last property we auctioned off or did a private seal bid. I mean, I have talked to Kathy, and we're in line to actually to be able to auction this one off, you know, on a private seal bid, if you so, you know,
So we have all the paperwork in place, like the warranty
Yes.
deed, everything.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, no warranty deed.
I mean,
It would be a quick claim deed.
Mhm.
I talked to the attorney today about it. I actually went out there Friday. Took some pictures. Pat and I went out there. Here's the property as indicated. I'm not the greatest picture taker. But this is the property, if anybody's interested.
Yeah,
I've been over there.
I've been out there and
Okay.
walked through it.
Okay, so, it'd be a sealed bid. We'd have to publicly advertise it on the website and the newspaper and wherever we put notices out. As soon as we draft a notice, we'd send it out to our attorney and then do a quick claim deed.
So, I mean, the building's sitting for a little bit, so I think it's just, let's get it back on the tax roll. You know, it's not, you know, and I know there is people out there that are interested in it. So, I just wanted to see what you guys' thoughts are.
it's no brainer.
I'm good. Are you thinking of putting some sort of reserve on it, or?
We didn't when we did the town, when we sold at the, you know, we had our town auction, we didn't have any reserves.
But we had that was a regular auctioneer company
Right.
hired to take care of it and advertise and all that, right?
Right. I don't know if you want to put a reserve, you can.
Has there been any market evaluation done on it?
No.
Just your tax card there,
Tax card.
what the town is saying
They're
it's
always,
worth.
they're always
Yeah.
different.
They're different. Nothing, we haven't done anything.
They
But the
work
house-
out while to see what the fair market value is.
The house is in at best, it's in very poor condition.
Okay, so I don't know where you're going with that. So no, don't do it.
I would say would be wasting our money. But you know, it's up to you guys. You know, I was just out looking at the house and, I mean,
It's a mess, but
it needs some work, but it could be potentially that there's
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 potential.
potential there. So I just,
Do you want me to ask Susan to take a look at it when she's around town? I mean, that's the other option, or assess it. I mean, I don't know.
yeah, I just feel we should do something.
To get a value.
My concern is just where it won't be advertised like we hire an auction company to do it. Just make sure we get enough interest in it. I mean,
I mean, we
as
sold
much
it.
as I'd like to see it go on the tax roll, I don't think we should.
We sold the Ding-a-ling, and, I mean, this house is not in that much better shape. I mean, it's in a little bit better shape, and yeah, where it sits is a little bit more, you know, I mean, well, that's
Yeah, I don't think
downtown.
you can even compare the two.
Right?
I don't think there's really a.
But we didn't, you know, we didn't get that much for it, but it's back on the tax roll, that's the main idea.
Is it? Yeah, last I knew,
No, it's all set.
are
It
you
was,
sure?
Well, I talked to Kathy about it, and she said that they got that all set.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
yeah, I don't know. I know they were working
They still
on it.
haven't.
Still today?
Still today.
Yeah, I thought they were
Yeah.
still. It's one of the things
Gotta
that,
get more aggressive on that.
it's something that's gonna be addressed, I think, on Wednesday, to be honest with you. There's a plan to work on some of those things Wednesday.
All right, well, so you want to ask Susan to just go and take a look at it?
I think we should.
Okay, so I'll have Susan take a look at it, and then maybe report back to you, and maybe you'll set a reserve, or maybe you won't.
Okay.
If you're gonna set a reserve, should you do it in non-public? then?
Yes,
Yep.
and,
Unless, I mean, I guess we'd have to decide if we're going to disclose the reserve rate.
From the beginning or not?
Right.
Let's get a value on it first.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
I
A
guess
rough,
we think
a
about it
rough
like-
value, okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. But you're all in favor of selling it?
yes,
Thank you.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, they all are. So, okay, so we'll work on that.
Okay.
Okay. So up next is the resolution of the Atlantic Broadband Purchase and MetroCast formally accepted for the broadband sandwiches.
Okay. Broadband is buying out, MetroCast. So they've been calling, they're doing this all over the state. It's basically a resolution approving the transfer of cable television franchise granted by the town of Milton. Basically, our franchise agreement stays in place. It doesn't change anything. We were due to renegotiate in December. However, that's being pushed back because all over the state they're having this done. It's not just us. So it's probably going to be several months being pushed back, and then we'll be renegotiating everything. But I just needed the board, I keep calling, this needs to be, to accept that Atlantic Broadband has bought over MetroCast.
So that's all this is saying?
That's all it's saying.
Okay, because,
We need to negotiate and tell them what we want. I told them that. And
Yeah.
I also told them that
yeah,
it was
we
aggressive.
definitely have issues with,
Well, I explained that you wanted to negotiate.
yeah.
But because of the sale that affected the state, that needed to be.
So has this been reviewed by
Legal counsel, yes.
legal?
It's actually been reviewed all over the state because it's not just our town.
Other towns are all signing the
They're
agreement?
signing this. Any town that has to negotiate, the negotiations have been pushed back. However, there is a consortium of towns who are negotiating, and with a lawyer to negotiate for a stronger negotiating power. And I have the name of that lawyer. They're out of Exeter.
And they're still signing that?
They're signing this, but in terms of negotiating power for the contract, the new contracts, and they're doing something different. And we'll talk about that when it gets a
Yeah,
little
this doesn't
closer.
have anything to do with the contract. I
No.
definitely wouldn't sign anything to do with the contract.
Has nothing to do with the contract, it just has to do with the fact of the sale.
You guys want to just look at it?
I already read it.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Make a motion to have the chair sign that.
I'll send it.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So, right here.
Like it.
Oh, and this is where you would.
That's right, I know. Thank you.
Well, hopefully something good will come out of this, you know?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so up next is department budget review. So, are we gonna, is Nick gonna do his, or the chief? Which,
I think,
Volunteer?
okay, I mean, it's-
So before we start,
yeah,
can we just kind of talk about,
how we're gonna do it.
obviously, first time for me going through this, so what's the plan? Is there a plan?
It's one of the five reasons why we wanted to have a full budget review, give you a good understanding. This is how it all starts, when they start to present their budgets to us. You
Right.
should have a expenditure report, so you can balance that against where we are to date on our budgets. You should have their proposal for their, in Rich's case, the default and proposed budgets. You don't have to make a decision tonight, you're gonna hear him present his budget.
So do we have a plan on who's presenting tonight? I mean, I don't think we're gonna get through everybody tonight.
You know, that's
Do
a
we wanna
great question, because usually
Try to figure that out
it's
before
better
we get
planned.
started.
Well, that's what we need to try to figure out, because we're kind of been unclear on this, and I think we need to be, we have to get through ours, certain ones in this month and into the beginning of November, because then we have to turn it over to the budget committee. I know Chief Kraus and Chief Marek are ready tonight,
it's only 20 past 6. I think we have plenty of
and
time
I
to
think
do
we've
at
got
least
several of
two.
us, you're ready. Michelle's ready, I've got mine, Pat's not gonna do his tonight, right?
I'm ready.
Oh, he's ready
We
as
got
well.
3 hours.
Betsy, you're ready?
Not tonight.
Okay, she's not. Okay, so there's several of us here who can present. So we have enough of us to do ours tonight, and then we need to figure out the rest of them.
Usually, Ryan, there are department heads, there's a list of department heads who shows up one night, or what night, to present budgets. This is kind of new. This is, we're like throwing a hat to the ring tonight to see
Okay.
who's gonna present their budgets.
Well,
It's badly planned, that's all.
okay. Well, I think we can figure out what other nights we want to to do the other ones. And figure out which nights we want the other budgets.
All right. Well, anyway, so the chief of police is here. So the floor is yours, chief.
Okay, so you guys have my packet that I gave you.
Mhm.
In the front of the packet, which is something we normally don't do, there's a chart on the first page. It shows you the percentage of where most of the stuff is spent out of my budget. As you guys can see, most of it is spent in payroll and personnel, through retirement funding for the state, through FICA, Medicare, and then through salary and overtime. Leaves a very small portion of my budget for basically everything else. So full-time salary line, I'm looking for $473,784.72. Inside that sheet, you'll see what the salary breakdown is for the full-time officers. That is for the 7 officers. My salary is not included in that line. My salary has its own line. That line is an increase of $9,591.72. That is with the officers getting their step, which is a 2% step over the last year's.
And that's on a warrant article.
Correct. That's from
just
the 2014 warrant article.
Yeah.
So
to make it clear.
and you guys also have the copy of the pay scale in your packet that shows you exactly where the pay scale goes and how it moves forward. Any questions on that one? So the packet explains, Ryan, I don't know that you know what our shifts break down at or what the shift differential. So inside of that $473,000 is also $84,000 for overtime, but that overtime is actually broken out into SD1 and SD2. We have shift differentials for officers who work second shift and officers who work third shift. The Board of Selectmen put that in 2010. So shift differential has been there for quite a while. But that comes out of the overtime as well as on-call, court pay. All of those also come out of overtime. So ultimately, when you look at that $84,000, really what's overtime is probably about $60,000 in the end, because the shift differential and court hours, stuff like that, is paid for out of the balance of that.
Okay.
Part-time salaries. Part-time salaries I increased back to $12,000 from $9,000. I know we haven't spent a lot of money out of the part-time line the last couple of years, and that's why we dropped it to $9,000 last year. We have a new joint chaplain between the police and fire department that is assisting us. We also have a second part-time officer for the police department. So with having 3 people possibly being paid out of that account, to not cut back on the availability to have the boat in the water next year, my thought is to bring it back to the $12,000.
For the Marine Patrol.
For the Marine Patrol and the chaplain position, yes. So with the chaplain position, the fire department pays half of the year, I pay the other half of the year, and any call-outs that we may have to call the chaplain out for will be paid by that department's line. So what we've been doing with the chaplain is 4 hours a week, having the chaplain available for our officers and for his members as well, so that if they're having any type of issue that they need to speak to somebody about, they can go and speak to someone they're comfortable with. In a career in both of our fields where PTSD is starting to catch up to a lot of cops and a lot of firefighters.
PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. It is very good for them to have someone to go to and talk to that they feel comfortable with. Not necessarily someone in a supervisory position or supervisory rank. A lot of cops have the fear that you walk into your supervisor and say, hey, I'm having issues with this, I'm having a lot of anxiety, I'm having this problem. And they're afraid they're going to get put on light duty and their weapon taken away, things like that. with having the ability for them to go and talk to someone, that any information that they tell that person other than they're going to harm themselves or harm somebody else is protected information. It's a benefit to all of our officers, and it allows the town of Milton to take the step forward in protecting our employees, protecting our police officers and firefighters from that mental aspect of the job.
I think it's the least we can do.
We don't see things that a normal everyday person sees every day.
So that particular person that puts about 4 hours a week in?
4 hours a week of basically office time, we'll call it. So, and then has been assisting us very well on calls for service.
Okay.
And we've had a couple of domestic calls. We've had a couple of suicidal calls where the chaplain has assisted us on.
Okay.
And afterward, the residents were very happy to have that person to talk to.
Definitely. Okay.
You guys have any other questions about that line? Okay. Next line is 121, which is administrative assistant salary. That's $40,352. That is the 2% merit and the 1.7% COLA increase, for a total increase of $1,435. The administrative assistant is on the same raises as the rest of the town employees.
Right.
So on my pay scale, you will see, excuse me, you will see the administrative assistant on the step plan, but it's not, the administrative assistant wasn't part of the original warrant article for the step plan. So it's just written on there just as a placeholder, so I can track where people's salaries are and things like that. Okay, that's good.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Next line is longevity and retention, which is $2,500. There's no change to that. This line was formally higher than that, and it was given to all of the officers prior to 2014. After 2014's warrant article went through, we decreased it to just the administrative assistant because she was not part of the 2014 warrant article. And that's a line that was put in 2008 or 2009, I think, to encompass the entire department.
The next line is chief salary, and that's $82,586, and that is a step line, and that includes the 3.7%, 2% merit, 1.7% COLA.
No, that only includes 2%.
Oh, 2%.
Yeah, it's just on the same step
COLA.
line.
And any questions on that?
Nope, not for me. Mike?
No, but,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Next line is the grant line, that's $5,000. The grant line is for any matching grants that we may apply for, that the department or the town may get, that allows us to be able to have at least that matching funds up front. The biggest thing we use that for is the bullet resistant vest grant, which we have to get just about every year because we have officers on a 5-year cycle. The vests are only good for 5 years. And this year, unfortunately, we have 7 vests that are due to expire here in 2017. So I've already applied for the grant. I'm just waiting for approval back from the federal government to purchase those 7 vests. It just happened to fall under hiring people, and it was just one of those years where we hired 3 people, and 2 people already needed their vests that year, and then now we're filling 2 more positions. So
That's why it wasn't staggered.
it used to be staggered. We used to have it very well staggered out, and it was 1 or 2 a year. Unfortunately, this is one of those years that we just kind of, due to circumstances, we have to buy 7 vests. And if we have to buy 7 vests, just the town purchasing it, we're over that line anyways because they're $850 a piece. So thankfully, if we get it, the federal government pays for half of that, and the town has to come up with the other half. FICA is $3,679.82. That's a $274.97 increase, but that's because of raises and the increase in the part-time line. Medicare, $8,927.99. Again, that's a increase due to raises for the employees, and that's $225.24 over 2017. Any questions? All right. Retirement, line 230. That is $167,271.62. That line is a $15,023.62 increase over 2017. So the big increase in that line is due to the fact that we're on a full year of the 29.43% that is pushed down to us from the state of New Hampshire. That's not a line we control. That's a line that's controlled through RSA and through the state changing it. So that's, last year we were at 26.34, and they increased us 3% June 1st of this year, 2017. So in 2018 we'll be at a full year at 29.43%. So obviously with the increases in raises and with that increased full 3% for the whole year, it's a big hit to the communities. But all communities are going through the same thing.
Yeah, nothing we can do about it. It is what it is.
We can't control it. It's something that has to be paid, so
Yep.
we can't. PD training is $5,000. That's line 240. We did not increase that line either. That line pays for all of our ammunition, all of our targets, and any out-of-state training that we may have to send an officer to that we cannot get from the Police Standard Training Academy. Any questions on that one?
No, sir.
Next line is 243, that's hiring and testing. There's a requirement for certain testing we have to do when we hire an employee. Part of the testing is due through the academy, and then the other part is the psychological exam that we do on all of our new employees before we hire them. $500 usually gives us about 1.5 employees to be able to hire. Hopefully we can stay on pace of not having to hire more than that, and we can keep people for an extended period of time. This year in 2017, that line is obviously going to be overspent, probably by $500, because we have to hire, or we're hiring 3 employees. So. Any questions? Uniforms line, 290, that's $6,000. We did not increase that line this year. Truthfully, this line should be increased. In all truthfulness, we should be giving our officer, we should be putting aside about $500 to $1,000 per officer per year to replace certain parts of their uniforms. I have some officers who haven't received a full new uniform in a couple of years. They may have received a shirt or a long sleeve shirt or short sleeve shirt, but not a full set of 2 pairs of pants, 2 long sleeves and 2 short sleeve shirts, just because we've been on having to hire people. And hiring people can cost us up to $2,500 just to hire and uniform that employee right off the bat. We try our best to be able to reuse certain parts of the uniform, but unfortunately you can only reuse uniforms for so long before they start to get worn out and you have to just buy it. So if we spend $2,500 on 3 employees to outfit full-time employees, that leaves me no money to fix or change any uniforms for my other officers.
Do you plan on buying, because you got 4,500 left?
I got a little less than that. The secondary bill hasn't come in from the uniform company.
Okay.
And then I have to...
I was just curious if you had a big purchase.
I still have to take my officers that I currently have down to get uniformed up, and I still have one open position as well.
Okay.
To uniform.
Okay.
Any other questions on that one?
Nope.
Next line is 320, legal services. That line is at $14,000. That line hasn't changed in many years. That line pays for our portion of the deputy from the Stratford County Sheriff's Department that we share with 5 other communities who does our prosecution for us. If we paid for our own attorney to prosecute Milton's violations, misdemeanors, and town ordinances, you could probably 3 to 4 times, maybe even 5 times that amount. increased. He does a very good job for us, and that money actually pays for the deputy to prosecute our cases and an assistant for that deputy, an administrative assistant for that deputy. So,
Okay.
if we tried to do it in-house, it would take one of our 8 officers off the street from actually doing patrol work to have to actually prosecute. So I think you'll see on the expenditure report that we usually spend about $13,000 right off the top, and then we
Yeah.
have $1,000 left over for any supplies they may need, postage, envelopes, letterhead, those types of things that we have to purchase for the
And you
Milton portion of it.
880 left.
Yep. Any other questions on that one? Next line is contracted services. That line is $340, and that's $22,263. And that's actually supposed to be $22,763. It's a nice little typo for me.
It's here. It's on ours.
Yeah, okay. So that line is an increase due to, we received an increase in our dispatching fees, our records management fees. Postage went back into my line. Postage was taken out of the police department's line before I became chief and was down here, which was not something I was aware of as long as I've been chief for the last 4 years. So it has to go back into my line. I put it at $1,000. Currently, when I check our meter, it shows that we've spent $1,500. I don't know if our meter was reset or not, but I know my administrative assistant is pretty good at making sure she keeps track of that. So obviously, if we need $1,500 in postage, I'll find that other $500 in a different line. But at this point, for a placeholder, I put in $1,000. You'll see, Mike and Andy, you'll see that the SWAT dues actually came down, because last year the SWAT dues we expected to be at $2,000. We brought that down to $1,000 because we changed the format for what departments are going to pay. And then in 2018, our servers virus protection is due, and that's $1,000. So, but it's a 3-year. It's a 3-year purchase for $1,000.
Okay.
Any other questions on that one? Or any questions on that one?
No, sir.
All right. Next line is 391, legal notices and ads. That's $100. That's for if we have to put anything in the newspaper or we have to send any legal notices to residents or defendants that we may have arrested outside of community. That line usually doesn't get spent.
It wasn't last year.
Yeah, it usually doesn't get spent.
Okay.
Have to have something in there to be able to send them out when we have to send them.
Sure.
So if we have to do a property auction or a property destruction, something like that, we have to put it in the newspaper for a certain amount of time to let the public know that we're doing that. Line 395, veterinary and professional service, that's $500. No increase over 2017. That line is for if someone's dog gets hit by a car and we can't locate them and the dog's injuries are not fatal, we will take them to the emergency vet or we'll take them to the local vet here in town. That's a placeholder so that we can get the animal treated, and then afterwards we'll go back after the owner for that money. Hopefully they'll pay it so we don't have, so the town's residents don't have to pay it, and if they don't, then we'll have to go after them civilly to go back and get that money.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that one?
No.
Next line is 410, electricity. As you guys know, the police department is the only 24-hour department with people in there all the time. And so our electric is not cheap. Plus we have computers on all the time, servers running all the time. The monthly average that we saw this year is about $570 a month. Obviously, we have some months in the summertime when it's much higher, some months in the spring and fall where it's somewhat lower. So if we go with that average, we'll be just under the $7,200. If we get a big increase from PSNH or Eversource, sorry, next year, then we will obviously probably go over the $7,200. But there's no increase in that line item.
It's different from the expenditure report. The expenditure report said the 6,700.
Mm.
For 2017, typo one.
It's 2017,
Hmm.
but it says that, you know, you used 5,000, close to 100, and you got 1,600 left.
It's my budget sheet. My budget sheet shows 7,200. So if it is 6,700, then that's an increase for that line because we're going to be over the 6,700 this year.
Okay.
Got that?
I'm looking, detail, I got all the detail we've spent all year, so I'm taking a minute to find it.
No, they're
Okay.
right. It's on the expenditure sheet as $6,700. I just don't know why I have it. Maybe that's what I asked for last year was 7,200. It didn't process through the way I thought it did.
Let me just double check while you talk.
Well, I got it here.
Oh, I was gonna look in the detail.
Still got 2.5 months left anyway. on that.
We have 2.5 months left now, but I think we're going to be pretty close this year going over that 6,700. I'm hoping the electrical bill comes down because the ACs aren't running for the building. So hopefully the electric bill will
I
come
think
down.
everybody's seen increases in electricity this year.
Yes.
Well, Eversource told us we were going to see between, I think they said, what, a 3 and 7% increase.
That was more than that. That was close to like 6, wasn't it?
6. That's what I was told.
For 2018 or for 2017?
2018.
2018.
2018, right.
Yeah.
But I think when they talked to us and when we were planning for 2017, I thought it was between a 3 and 7% increase.
All right, so 7,200 bucks. You happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Heating, 420. That's at $3,000. I came down $1,000. Thankfully, the fire chief, when he was building his building, we were able to get a much better price on propane because the two of us entered into a contract with propane, Eastern Propane, for. I have it listed at 139. 139, right? Not 136. Yeah.
I believe so.
So $1.39,
Sounds
which is about 60 cents less than what we were paying the year before, and we're locked into a 3-year contract. So.
Nice. That's good. That's a good deal.
Right. So the way I looked at it is, if we fill our tank 2.5 times, we'll just barely go over the $3,000. I'm hoping we don't have to fill it 2.5 times.
Okay.
Any questions on that one? Next line is telephone, $3,700, no increase on that. That pays for the phone service inside the building plus the 2 cruiser phones.
You still have remaining 1558 for this year. So there's no increase in it, right?
No increase.
Okay.
Richie,
Yep.
just going back to your electric, I just got a quick question. You have a police portion on Tenerife Road too, I see
Yep.
here? Okay.
Yeah, we all split the cost of the Tenerife Tower.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I just checking. Okay.
Okay, next.
Next is printing, line 610, that's $600. That's no increase on that line either. That is for letterhead, envelopes, business cards, those types of things. That line shouldn't have much spent out of it so far this year.
No, $100
It's only $100.
somewhere around that.
Okay.
But that'll change when we have to buy business cards for the 2 new officers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Next line is supplies, $6,000. That's line 620. No increase over 2017. The supply line we use for paper, ink for the printers, batteries for cameras, defibrillators, paper towels, toilet paper, evidence bags, rubber gloves, seam tape, those types of things. We don't purchase from one singular company just because we can get a better price by going through multiple different companies. My administrative assistant is very good at finding, yes, she's very good at finding the cheapest price that we can get our stuff through. And there are certain things like our rubber gloves and our evidence bags and things like that. We go through a certain company because they already have what we need and they already know the specs of what we've ordered in the past, things like that.
Okay,
Any other questions on that?
I'm good.
Next line is 640 vehicle fuel. I brought that line down to $15,000. It was previously $20,000 in 2017. In the past 4 years, we've used, in 13 we used $20,253. 14 we used $16,625. 15 we used $17,934. In 2016 we used $12,538, and this year we're on pace to do about the same $12,000. So I brought it down to 15. Don't really feel all that comfortable with the fact that gas prices are going to stay low or come back down. My fear is if we get into one conflict or we have one massive hurricane like we just had, and gas prices stay at super high, then we'll go over that line, and the last thing we need to do is trying to find money to keep our cruisers moving on the road to pay for gas.
Absolutely, but you know, at the end of the year, what you don't use goes back to the general fund anyway.
It just goes back to general.
Yeah,
correct.
so trying to find that money when you don't have it.
Is a lot harder than having it and giving it back.
Yes, okay. But I know it's a year-to-date expenditure report. This still isn't accurate, I guess.
It is
huh?
not accurate.
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask that.
It's not accurate.
Okay. Now, if you're comfortable with that, with the 5,000.
I'm comfortable with 15,000.
Okay.
I mean, just looking at our last few years, we've been, most of the years other than 2013, we've been under the $20,000. So
Okay.
with the newer cars, they do a much better job with fuel efficiency, and obviously the newer the car is, the better the fuel efficiency it is on the road.
Mhm.
We could have Priuses and we'd still be getting worse gas mileage than everybody who's driving them on an everyday basis, because police cruisers don't get driven the way we would drive our personal cars.
Mhm. Okay.
You gonna be able to look into that?
The Wex card?
No, the expenditure report correcting his fuel.
Yeah,
It's still working.
we're still, he knows, we talked about that. He finds things every time, and that's an ongoing.
It's been quite a while.
He and I know, we talk about it. He comes over every week and says, this is off, and this is off, and then we try to fix that. It's one of the problems when having 3 people trying to fix things in the account. That's one of our ongoing conversations on Friday mornings.
Okay.
So currently,
Just-
I think I'm at about $9,000 spent out of that line actual.
That's what I thought
You
you
just might
said.
want to get that corrected for the budget committee.
That's what I keep trying to say.
Okay. All right. Next.
Next line is 730, which is vehicle maintenance. That line is at $6,000. There's no increase in that line. We are extremely lucky to have Wade at the highway department. If we had to take these cars every time Wade fixed them or did an oil change to them or did anything to them to a Ford garage, we're paying about $100 an hour just in labor. Thankfully now, all we pay for is parts. And Wade has done a very good job of keeping himself, and Pat does a great job of keeping Wade in front of the newer cars as they come out, trying to keep the newer equipment in front of Wade so that he's up to date on what the newer cars require. One of the things the newer cars that our police utilities have is they have a sealed transmission, so there's no dipstick to check the transmission fluid in those vehicles. They're all-wheel drive vehicles, so when you have to change one thing, you usually have to change all 4, things like that. Wade stays in front of it. He does a very good job of inspecting everything every time he gets them, so it keeps our cost way down. The majority of the cost coming out of that line is parts, and then is obviously the tires that we have to purchase every year for the car. Thankfully, we're on an every other year cycle, so we have a set of summers and a set of winters for those cars, because the summer tires don't do what we need them to do in the winter months for traction-wise and things like that for the police cruisers. As you guys know, we we don't get the privilege of staying at home when it's 4 inches of snow blizzard out on the road. And the summer tires, which are actually all season tires that come from Ford with the car, they don't do what we need them to do in the wintertime, not even close. So we put a second set of tires on them in the winter. Those grip and do everything we need them to do, but those wear out too fast in the summertime, so you don't want to leave them on year round.
Right.
But thankfully, we're on an every other year cycle, so we'll replace the summers 1 year, the next year we'll have to replace the winters. So we're getting 2 seasons out of the sets of tires. So that's a savings for the town for us to be able to do that cycle. And thankfully, the cycle has kept us on that every other year.
And thank you to Wade too.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we haven't had a large number of like punctures of the tires and things like that where we have to start replacing more tires.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, the tires are not cheap, so.
okay.
Any other questions on that one?
No, thank you.
All right. Next line is 731, cruiser purchase and lease. That's still at $31,000, no change in that line. So that line is to continue the lease of our 3 frontline cars. The 3 frontline cars are due to come off the road next year. So we make our final payment this year, and then by the time the vote goes through and we get into the new lease and the new cars come in, the cars will probably have been replaced in September, maybe the beginning of October.
So nothing's been expended out of that, so you'll do that before the end of the year?
That, we get that bill every year, the first week in November. Yeah, so the first week in November will be our final payment on the lease that we did in 2014. And then once we do that lease, once we pay that lease off in 2014, we pay them $1 per car. The town owns all 3 of those cars and can do whatever we want with them. Normally what we do with the police cruisers, if another department doesn't want to buy them off the police department for what we would get for trade-in value, then they get traded in, and we use that towards when we're buying the new vehicles, leasing the new vehicles. It helps us decrease the cost and bring it down quite a bit.
Do we own the pickup truck now?
We own the pickup truck outright. We currently own car 4 outright. We bought car 4 in 2013, and we bought the pickup truck in 2011 or 2012.
I think it was 11, yeah.
Yeah. So based on the CIP plan, the leases are in the CIP plan to recycle for next year. And then in 2019, part of the CIP plan is to purchase Cruiser 1 and the pickup truck Cruiser 2 out of the detail line. So that way, we're using the detail line to do what it was supposed to do, purchase cruisers and purchase the equipment for those cruisers. And we're using the lease to keep a steady cost to the residents. Unfortunately, when we purchased all 3 of the cars in 2014, the cars were $42,000 to purchase and equip all of the cars. If we had to replace every single car at $42,000 a year, even if we got back onto our 1 car a year cycle at $42,000 a year, by the time we get to the 5th year, we've spent out of the taxpayers' dollars a whole lot more than $121,000 is what it is for 4 years at $31,000.
Yeah, no, I mean, this seems like this is the lease is the way to go. You know? To me, it has worked out very well for the town, because we're not coming in and saying, hey, we purchased 1 car this year, and now we have 2 cars that got a ton of miles on them this year, and now they're pushing over that 100,000 mile threshold, and now I got to come back to the town and say, hey, I need $84,000 to keep 2 cars on the road. Right.
$31,000 a year. Every resident that moves in and moves out is paying their share of that, the usage of those cars.
And it keeps your equipment maintenance line down too.
Correct. If
You've
we
done a good job getting this whole program together. I remember a time when you had some cars that were actually too dangerous to drive.
Yeah. We gave one to a town administrator. They drove it for a day and gave it back and said they weren't driving it anymore. But we were using it as a frontline police car. So, yeah.
And you gave one to the fire department. You don't like them, huh?
Hey, they asked for it. I gave them the warning that it was probably not ready for, probably not suitable anymore, but
Yeah.
still passed inspection. It's just not, it still passed inspection. It's just not usable for law enforcement purposes anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All set?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
on to the next appointment.
Next is equipment maintenance, 740. That line is at $3,000. So that has no increase over 2017. That line is to fix if we have a computer, in-house computer, one of the MDTs, the body cameras, a taser, firearm, portable radio. Any of those things break, we can send those out and hopefully try to get them fixed. If they're not fixable, then it can cost us a significant amount of money to replace those items.
Mhm. Okay, I'm all set. You?
Next line is 741, equipment purchase. So equipment purchase we normally use for purchasing things like portable radios, tasers, body cameras if a singular body camera breaks, our firearms, rifles, optics for the rifles, shotguns, those types of things when those items get worn out and start to fail and break when we have singular ones break. As you guys know from purchasing the radios for the fire department, the portable radios, they're about $3,800 a piece. So if we have 2 portable radios for the department break, we've overexpended that line. If we have 2 of our tasers go down, 2 or 3 of our tasers go down, and we have to fully replace them, those are $1,500 a piece. So that line could very well and quickly get expended. What we're running into right now is I just had to get a quote to replace our body cameras because the body cameras are at the end of life. They're about 5 years old, so we're starting to see the failures of the body cameras, and it's not just where I can just buy one and replace one because we're seeing it as a systematic failure, and it's nothing against the body cameras. It's just they're a piece of electronic equipment.
It's been 5 years already with those?
2012 is when we started with them. So some of them are original from 2012. Others we've had to replace a couple here and there down the road. But we're starting to see some pretty significant failures on them. And the new X2s or the Body 2s just came out, and they're a significantly better camera, which gives us a 2-year warranty and things like that. So unfortunately, that's something I'm going to have to speak to you all about, having to purchase that this year because...
How much are those per one?
They're $600 per camera. But the problem is the camera doesn't mount into the downloading equipment that we have. So you have to buy the downloading equipment and everything else because of the changes they made. They made a better product, but the problem with making a better product is it's no different than our cell phones. Every time they make a new cell phone, we have a different downloading and charging port and everything else. So same thing with Taser. So the quote for that I just got from Taser is about $8,900. Which is under the threshold for the CIP, so that's why it's not going to be in the CIP, but I'm going to have to come and see you gentlemen about purchasing those this year, because like I said, we're starting to see failures in cameras, and even with the 2 spares I have, those are seeing some significant failures as well. So
I see where we could manage that.
Right, it's
Yeah.
something that I'm going to have to, I have to purchase it this year.
Yeah.
I can't keep putting it off and waiting until we have a catastrophic failure where we have 7 cameras out of the 9 cameras we have down. It's not going to work for us.
So on this line, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you equipped your officers with all new rifles?
We equipped the cruiser.
Oh, and there was a local gunsmith.
Yes.
Whatever happened with that?
So we have not got the shotguns to him yet. I just talked to him actually the other day about that.
Yep.
And he is getting his licensing and everything that he needed to get corrected.
Wow.
The federal government moves very slow.
Yeah, I guess.
So he and I just talked about that the other day. He's going to get a hold of me, and we're going to move forward with that still.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep. Any other questions on that one? No? Okay.
No.
Next is 742. That's the equipment lease line. That's $4,600 in that line. No change to that line. That pays for our copier lease and our postage machine lease. Next line is 840. That's mileage and travel. That's at $1,100. That line hasn't changed. That line's for when the officers have to go to court, they have to go to training and there's no cruiser available, things like that. When the officers do go to court, the town is reimbursed mileage from court, so that line would be, you'll see.
So 159.60 is accurate, what you've expended to date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The benefit of having the cruisers that we have, we can make officers take cruisers to training. So it's a huge benefit to us, and it's a benefit to the officers as well. They're not putting wear and tear on their personal vehicles, and the town has the ability of when the officer comes back into town, they're in a marked cruiser. If they see something, they can stop and deal with it. The only reason I don't decrease that line anymore is if we do have to send an officer to out-of-state training, we will have to pay for mileage to send them to that out-of-state training unless we can give them a cruiser. But most of the out-of-state trainings are not single-day trainings, they're 4 or 5 day trainings, and that would be up to this board as to whether or not they want to send a cruiser out of state for 4 or 5 days. Obviously, it would save on mileage, but
It would put you down, cruiser down too.
it put me a cruiser down, right?
It's part of the SWAT, that's out of state, right? The SWAT?
There is some training that we send SWAT to out of state, but most of it is done in state. We are very lucky that we get most of our training done right here in state, so it doesn't cost us huge money in mileage. Plus, they would take a vehicle, they would take a cruiser to any SWAT training because they have the SWAT rifles as well as any ammunition they have to transport with them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next line is $850, dues and subscriptions, $750, no increase on that. That's Chiefs of Police Association and New Hampshire Patrol Officers Association. Being part of those associations actually allows us to get some discounts on classes and gives us publications that are sent to us that allow us to see changes in Supreme Court rulings that affect law enforcement, so that it's a help in taking some of the burdens off of the chiefs of having to try and research all of the Supreme Court rulings and pick out just the law enforcement ones. These agencies do that for us in some of their publications. Next line is $890, which is PD miscellaneous. There's $1 in that line in case we have something that needs to be expended outside of what we had planned for on any of those budgets.
So on that line, the miscellaneous?
You'll see a negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that negative is from, we got the legal opinion on using the money that came back from the Humvee, and the legal opinion agreed that that money should go back in the general fund. It shouldn't have been expended to purchase other outside equipment. So I'll find the money in my budget. I don't have a problem finding that. Well, the miscellaneous line will stay the way it is as a negative, but the bottom dollar on the budget will be still in the positive.
But it shouldn't be in the negative going to 2018 then?
Right, it won't be in a
Right.
negative going into 2018. It'll still be $1
Right.
going into 2018.
Yeah.
But at the end of this year, my bottom line budget won't show a negative.
Right.
Adjusting entry has to be done.
Yeah. Next line is $891, educational incentive. This line gives officers a stipend for a degree that they may come to us with. It does not pay for their degree. It's just a stipend for them coming to us with a degree, so we're having the ability to use that degree. Any questions on that line? There's no increase on that line as well. So the overall increase for my budget is $26,450.96. Most of that is from the
Salary.
retirement and salary.
Yep.
So I also
Which
gave you
we
guys.
have none of us have any control over that.
We have no
People
control.
said.
And so if you flip, if you flip over the long sheet that I gave you, you'll see the default budget that I put together as well. You'll see in actuality that even with the full year of raises that were approved in 2017, you'll see that there isn't a huge change between my default budget and what I'm actually asking for. I think it's just under, or just over $3,000
Yep.
in difference. So I'm not over default, we're not asking for a huge increase over default.
And most of it, like you said, was wages.
Yeah, it's raises and it's retirement.
Yep.
If you look at the retirement, even in default is $14,000 increase over last year because of the 3% on a full year of the salaries going through.
Well, very nice. Good job, Richard.
So do you guys have any changes you want to make to my budget tonight? Or is voting on my budget something you're not wanting to do this evening? I just figure the more budgets we can get out of the way, you guys have less meetings to have to come back to.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
take into
definitely.
consideration, we just said it, that the majority of your increase, a large majority, is something we have no control over anyway, which are salaries that were voted by the people. So I don't know, I'd like to make this motion to accept the new budget for the police department.
I'll second it. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll process this up and give it to Heather for the budget meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle's next.
No?
Mine is sweet and quick and refreshing.
Just take one and pass it on.
Okay, hold on a sec.
Take this one away.
What is she under?
What?
What is she under here?
Michelle's?
Yeah, I know. There are no headings, there's nothing on here.
Oh, that's an expenditure.
Yeah, I know, it usually has a heading.
Well, Vanessa was gonna Patty to print those out, so we had to have somebody else print those out. That's why they're both empty.
Okay, well, what are her letters, please?
I'll give you the account numbers, how's that?
Oh, okay, that helps.
Okay. It's 414012.
I didn't see you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Are you all set?
Are we all set, Mike?
I am,
Ryan?
I'm ready, go.
Go.
It'll be 5-10 minutes tops. So mine is, the very first line, the 414120, is the part-time salaries. There is a slight increase of $1,100,
It's the town clerk.
$1,167 there. That includes a 1.7% COLA with a possible 2% merit for both
Is
employees.
that possible in that amount?
That possible is within that amount.
Okay.
That's for the 2 part-time employees. My next line is 130.
That is the town clerk's line, and that's an elected position, and its 2018 request is 5619, an increase of 919, 1.7 COLA, and possible 2% merit.
And that also, that possible's in there.
And then my next line is 220, which is the FICA, which obviously has the increase for all 3 of us. That's $129 over last year. The Medicare is a $30 increase over last year's number for all 3 of us. The training line 240, that has actually stayed the same. The registry of deeds has gone down 100 now that we're clearing up some of these old properties. Line 391 is the legal notices and ads. That's the same. That's in case if I have to advertise for an employee. The professional services has been increased to $11,270. It's a little over $2,000 increase, but I'm budgeting for 2 more elections next year. So last year I budgeted for 2017, I budgeted for 2 elections. The town election and then a special election in case something happened, we had another emergency.
But you have other elections coming up next year.
Yes, I have a primary and general for the state coming up this next in 2018, plus ours. And then I budgeted for the 4th one again for a special election in case something happens.
Okay.
The printing and copies has actually gone down to $1. What that line used to be used for is they used to purchase the automotive red books to give us the list price of the vehicles when they were brand new with the GVWs, and we could do the registrations. We have been able to use 2 separate sites to actually find that information at no charge. So, and we haven't used it in four years, I think. So I think we're pretty good at just dropping it down to $1, and in case something happens, just leave it there. Under the supplies, that's remained the same at $2,500. The postage is the same at $7,100.
You've expended $2,163 to date.
I don't believe it.
Is that accurate?
Oh, because that's screwed up.
I don't believe it.
That is screwed up.
I had tons of certified notices, so no.
I think hers is off still. It's supposedly corrected, but I still think it's off, and she agrees with me on that one.
A lot of unknown numbers in this expenditure report.
Those numbers haven't been right for 2 years. My postage line has not been
Yeah.
right for 2 years.
What do we need to do to fix this? I mean,
We keep getting closer to this, but part of the postage problem is because it wasn't being reset at the end of the month. That's what we found out for a lot of them this year.
getting close. Another 2 years, we should be all set.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, moving forward, I think we're on the right path.
We are on the right path. I mean,
Okay.
part of the problem with the first part of the year is it wasn't being just reset at the end of each month out
And,
here.
and whose duty is that?
It was a bookkeeping duty, and
Okay.
as we had changes in staff, that was part of the challenge.
Okay. So now that duty is being,
Addressed, but then it also was part of an issue with the machine and turning it over. We had to get a new machine.
right.
So it's been compounded by a number of factors. As far as it not being right for 2 years, I can't address that totally.
Okay.
The equipment maintenance has remained the same at $250, and
We're
that's,
getting close at that. Unless this number's not right either.
I think that's right.
Okay.
which one are we talking about, the equipment maintenance?
Yep.
I only have one bill for that. The equipment maintenance is for the annual, and the annual maintenance for the election clocks. That's it. We have two.
Right.
The school pays for theirs, we pay for ours. So it's $500 a year, but we split the bills up. So, yeah, it shouldn't go higher.
Okay.
The equipment purchase, I left at $2,000. That is to purchase a backup printer and a safe should we have to replace them. I don't think we used any of that line this year.
186.87.
A cash box. And then for 840, which is the mileage and travel, it was at 500. We dropped it down to 250. It's really not necessary for us to have. And we don't go anywhere other than training, and I've already gotten my certification, so it's not like I'll be out and about.
But it's nice to have it though in case, unfortunately, if the town car
250 is plenty.
breaks. Sure,
Yes.
okay.
And then the membership and dues is still the same at $40. $20 goes towards the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association. The other 20 is for the New Hampshire Town and City Clerks Association. And then the miscellaneous line we've had at $1 for a while. So my big increase were the salaries. One half of it were the salaries, the other half is for the elections.
Mm-hmm.
Elections we can't do anything about.
We can't do anything about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't do anything with either of them.
No.
So,
So what do you guys think of this budget? You want a motion on it tonight?
Yeah, so considering
What's that?
considering what the increase is, I mean, there's not much we can do there.
Right. So you mind if I make a motion to accept the clerk tax collector's budget tonight?
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Michelle.
Less than 10 minutes, right?
It's actually 11 and a half.
Oh.
Nick, you're up.
Okay, who's up?
11 minutes, I can do it.
A friendship.
11.
I'll bet your last born on it. Deal. Oops.
Do you have this?
I gotta go.
Oh,
Do I gotta get yours? It's the same book you gave me the other day.
I stole it.
You stole my book.
Sorry.
Okay, but how am I gonna read your line?
So
What are you gonna read?
I get the iPad. We'll try it.
I only have to read one line, I'll bring it back to you. I'll go sit with Nick for a minute.
Andy, may I pull over that way?
I would love you to, Pat.
You might best win a little bit.
I'm good. This might actually work better for me.
Great.
Sure.
Oh, musical chairs.
You just scoop right over here.
That's the reason I went over there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, shoot.
All right. If you go to the second page, I kind of summarized everything. So, as you can see, about 70% of the budget is personnel costs, which include retirement, salaries, FICA, Medicare, so on and so forth. A good chunk of it, 8% is utilities, maintenance, supplies is 1%, vehicle fuel is only about 2%, new equipment 4%, contracts, memberships is another 4%, and personnel supplies and training, so that's uniforms and training essentially, is about 6%. And then if you look at the next chart, that is the increases, so the total increases, about 47% of that is salaries and benefits, and a good chunk of that is the call firefighters pay and the increase in New Hampshire retirement. 22% of that is the utility increases for the new station. Utility increases in general is another small portion. Contract services went up about a couple $1,000s, so that's 6%. 8% in the fire year increase, and another 8% in new requests. So of the $36,000 increase, about 8% of that is in new items, which we'll get into shortly. So, the full-time salary line is $114,047.76. That's up about $4,000, $3,700.
How many full-time fire?
That's a full-time lieutenant and a full-time firefighter. So that line has been the same since 2015. We've kept it steady because it's the first time since 2015 that we're fully staffed. And both of our employees live within the response district, so they're both eligible and do respond back to cover the ambulance at night at an overtime rate. Whereas before, historically, there's always been the full-time members lived out of town. So because of their salary increases and their projected salary increases, I wasn't able to hold that line for the third or fourth year in a row.
Are they also able to stand in as emergency management?
No, Devin would be, if I wasn't around, Devin would do that. Assistant chief would do that. And then from there, it would revert to the police chief. So the part-time salary line, that is the salary for the all the call firefighters that respond back for emergencies, training, and it includes the assistant chief's salary, which is based on 22 hours a week. So if you look at page 4, it breaks that down. There is a $9,000 increase in that line, and the majority of that, if you look at the chart, I used a few different averages to come up with the proper amount for the call firefighters to be paid. And it came out to $48,400. Any questions on how we came up with that, or?
Still trying to absorb it.
Basically, I grabbed different periods of time. They get paid once a year. It goes from November 1st to October 31st. So because...
They get paid once a year?
Yeah, unless they request their check early. They save it essentially for Black Friday, Christmas. The average call firefighter would get somewhere between $1,000 to a couple $1,000. So perfect time of year.
Yeah.
So how many on that?
How many people does that include?
Yep, people.
About 40. Which, yeah, comes out to about $48,000.
priceless. Can't put a figure to, you know, the service that we have, you know, fire department.
But I agree 100%. I'm asking these questions because I may be asked of these questions.
Yes. Absolutely.
Not me.
Yeah, you troublemaker. Okay. Yes, thanks.
Okay, the fire chief's salary is based on 24 hours per week. The fire chief's position provides a variety of technical, administrative, and supervisory work in planning, organizing, directing, and implementing fire prevention, suppression, and emergency medical services. The work is completed by working at the fire station 24 hours per week, in addition to responding to emergencies and attending local and regional meetings. I think you all know that our chief works much more than 24 hours per week. The current rate
I think he's
is...
hanging out with the police chief.
I think he works constantly. The current rate is $37,951 and 68 cents. An hourly rate with 1.7 COLA would be $38,274.27, and an hourly rate with a 2% merit would be $38,660.24. So I think you can see that his increase would make a difference of a variance of $689.16 for a request of $37,957.46.
So repeat the 2018
The
figure?
request,
Yeah, the 37.
it's $37,957.46.
Yep, that's right. Okay, thank you.
I like your thought, Peg.
I wanted to give you more.
He's worth.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but I'm good.
He's
I tried. Now what do we do?
I gotta go back to my chair. I liked it back there, but
Okay, speak slowly.
oh,
So,
So the bike and the Medicaid and the New Hampshire retirement, there's nothing we can do.
Yep.
Those are all
nope,
fixed.
the only thing on the New Hampshire retirement, is it's a full year at 31% instead of last year it was 29 and change and half a year at 31%. So even if we kept that full-time line the same, that would have gone up anyway.
Right.
So that's why it's a fairly $2,700 increase in the retirement system. Nothing in training. $34 for employee testing, which this year that's overexpended. We
Yep.
hired a full-time employee, and it's mandatory to get an NFPA physical before we hire him. It's recommended that we should be putting our qualified firefighters through that, but we don't. It's kind of a newer trend in the fire service, and eventually we'd like to do that. But I mean, the physicals are $274, I believe.
Yeah, $200.
Yeah. So
Times that by 40.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll work on it when I don't have other things to.
right.
So that just covers the background checks, the fingerprints. $49 a piece, and there's 4 of them. I'm not sure if it went up and where the 166 came from, but either way.
Do you have more people, uniforms, you have more people?
So here's the story with the uniforms. It was $15,000 last year. This year it's $20,350. I went through and updated all the numbers. The gear went from $2,000 for a set of coat and pants to $2,500 for a set of coat and pants. So that's $2,500 of the increase. Extra 500 times 5 sets. And then I added a sixth set. I've been wanting to do that for a while, just to try to rotate them through quicker. But I haven't, because obviously it's expensive and we're trying to keep this as tight as we can. So I showed you the new requests in that chart. The $2,500 is one of the new requests. The gear we made before, a couple of reasons for the increase. They stopped making the material, and obviously the new material was a little bit more expensive. That was part of it. Then just cost increased in general, and then the extra set. So that's where that $5,000 comes from. Contracted services, go down to that. All right, so the Ospey Valley Mutual Aid Association went up from 5,000 to 6,000. So that's our dues to belong to the association, which we have to belong to be dispatched by Carroll County. The alternative is you belong to Seacoast Mutual Aid Chiefs, which is substantially more. You really need to belong to a mutual aid association. That way you can receive the benefits, statewide benefits.
Has it been the usual increase, $1,000?
Honestly, it was $4,500 forever. Last year went up 500, and this year went up another 1,000. We're trying to work on our radio infrastructure, so that's the reason for the increases. Upgrading stuff at the dispatch center, which we don't contribute directly to, we contribute through our dues. That's the reason for that, essentially. They also pay for a lot of training when stuff is available. So we don't always get our money back, but over time we definitely will. And if we sent 3 people to a firefighter 1 class, we'd get our money back that year. The other increase, Lenhart Systems is our cloud-based backup, and that we were backing up 2 computers, now we're backing up just the server, so that's why that's decreased. The post office box went up $28. Our reporting software is emergency reporting. That went up for the first time since we entered into a contract with them, $572. Our pay clock system, due to my part-time schedule, I'm not always around on Monday morning, so I got a cloud-based online system where I can log into my laptop and do payroll from work or wherever. So that's $400 a year, that's new. Adobe Acrobat, a PDF editor, I found that was helpful, so I added that for $179. And the NFPA subscription went up $40. So a grand total in contract services is up $2,064. Electric. If you want to go to the electric chart, I'll show you how we came up with a number, and you can agree or disagree with me, but I gave it my best guess.
What page is it on, Chief?
It is page number 12. Sounds about right. Yep. I like to skip those maintenance stuff. We'll go back to that. So I wrote down every electric bill from January 1st, just before we moved into the building, and averaged them all out and multiplied it by 12. And I came up with, well, I have 15,000 here on my little chart, but I put 15.5 on the front page. So if you really want to hold me to $500, we can maybe cut 500, but I'm not so sure that 15 is going to be enough anyway, so 15.5 is probably what I was thinking, just to give us a little bit of a buffer.
Still ain't been in there a year, though.
Yeah, so I still don't have where we're gonna run for this time of year. And in January of 967 we weren't moved in there yet, we just got our electric bill, and that was construction time, so.
Right.
So I think my average is probably a little low, that's probably why I put the $500 in the front half. And then station 2 is consistent.
Kind of like Station 2.
$33 a month.
Mm.
Yeah. One thing, Rich mentioned the repeater is in his. I put $1,000 in emergency management to cover the repeater when we get to that budget. Instead of dividing it between public buildings, police, and fire, I thought it would just be easier to have it in one line. It's for the repeater tower that we all utilize. It's an emergency management function. So just to keep it consistent and easier for bookkeeping purposes, I added money to that line for the electric bill. That's why it's not in here. But I think it's like $90, $80 a month. It varies, and see where it really is next year. But that building has to be heated in the winter, correct? Justin, the heat's on in the winter?
Heated in the winter.
And it's air conditioned in the summer because of all the radios and the equipment in that confined space. I skipped building maintenance. That's up $995. So the sprinkler test has to be done annually at $775. The final vent maintenance at $950 and the generator maintenance at $270.
What line is that?
720?
Oh, bill and maintenance, all the way down here, okay.
The other thing too, that like our keypads, one of those had a problem. That was $400 to replace that. That was one of the original ones we put in at the old station that we moved up there. It wasn't in warranty anymore. Then we had a problem with the garage door. It was under warranty, but there was something that wasn't. That was $100 this year or something like that. So it's little stuff like that. I don't want to have to go see Pat every time I make a phone call, so it's just easy to keep some of it. He's taking care of the heating system and a lot of that stuff, but I think it's appropriate to have a small amount in here for some of this stuff.
Well, another thing is we want to maintain the building. You know, that has to, you know, for the next 100 years, we need to take care of that building. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so no, you're doing a great job.
Heat. Again, I played the average game, and I think I'm going to leave it the same. If we get into November, December, maybe we'll change it at deliberative session, but the way things are looking right now, I think we'll be all right at $8,500. The other thing too, if you look at the expenditure report, we heated the station right up here for January and February. And we still have, what, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 something left. $1,800 left. So I think we'll be all right. I'll keep an eye on it. If I need to make an adjustment before everything's final, I'll let you know.
Put a blanket.
So
Sweaters.
Put a blanket.
water is up $1,050 from $1,950 to $3,000. Obviously, we're using more water. There's more than one toilet and one sink.
Sorry.
The irrigation, we started the lawn last year, so we were keeping that wet. And we're washing the trucks a lot more often. So, again, the averages played out to almost $4,000, but I think we're not going to be watering the lawn as much next year, and I'm not going to let Pat fill up next year. So,
He was doing that today, wasn't he?
we're not gonna talk about it. So, again, as my best guess, I'll have a better idea next year. Hydrant fees are up $630, even though hydrants are worse than they've ever been. That was that rate increase from the year before, but it came at the end of the year. So we paid $4,800 last year and this year, and this is the first time it's reflected in the budget because of the time that it came in. So it came in like December of last year, the increase, so it was in 16. We didn't catch it for the budget of 17 because of the budget's already being handed in, so now that's being reflected right here at $630.
So for $5,000, what are we getting here?
That's a topic for another discussion another day.
Yeah.
Well, you're coming to us and asking us for $5,000, but you're also sitting there saying that the hydrants are not up to par.
I'm putting a packet together of what my requests to the water department are going to be that I'm going to give to you guys, and we'll make sure they're maintained properly going forward, tested annually, flushed regularly as required, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
Telephones are up $1,580, and
You got a telephone in every room in that new station.
yeah, but that's all. That's not reflected on that. I'll get into the details of why that's like that. So That is increased because we're paying for the high-speed internet now. This is why I should have just had it. Almost there. Phones. So the actual phone lines for both stations are the same. The hotspots are the same as they've always been. It is the extra $63 for the internet. And I averaged it all out, and it came to $4,111, and then I added $264 for an extra hotspot to go in the new ambulance, because we now have the 2 cardiac monitors that can transmit EKGs to the hospital, but we don't have the 2 hotspots to connect them yet.
But this is a good time where we're gonna be negotiating with our, you know, coming up.
Well,
With-
Atlantic Broadband.
Yeah, with Atlantic Broadband, where this is where we could use some leverage, you know, just hopefully to save some money.
I think I was a little short last year on phones, because, I don't know, I had $2,800 last year, and even for the phones at Station 1 and Station 2 and hotspots, it adds up to more than that.
You were overextended on phones.
Yeah, there must have been an increase somewhere there along the line I didn't catch. Public education stays the same at $600. Printing, I bumped up to $400. Again, on page 16, I showed the quarterly printing fees for the copy machine. And then we have to do new stationery, new business cards and everything eventually next year, because all our addresses are wrong, and we're running short on some of them.
Well, you even at 200, you were overexpended anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Supplies, I'm gonna keep it at $4,500. On page 17, I kinda gave you a breakdown of what we spent this year. Some of that stuff was one-time expenditures for the new station to get our stock up, cleaning supplies.
Is that why it's overexpended on the previous?
Yeah, I've pulled a lot of the one-time expenditures out, and I think $4,500 will be enough again. Gave you in the packet, there's a breakdown of all of our purchases year-to-date from Portland paper. Vehicle fuel, again on page 19, I'm gonna leave that the same. It averages out a little bit less, but I'm not sure how the new pickup is gonna do versus the Crown Vic with gas mileage. I'd like to get a full year of that and running both of those, 3 of those.
It'll probably be the same.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Based on that
similar,
Crown
but
Vic.
again, I don't know what the gas prices are gonna do, so.
Nice truck, Nick.
Thank you. You'll have to come check it out. Diesel fuel, and when I ran the averages, it came out to $5,700, so I'm gonna leave that at $6,000. That covers all the engines and the ambulances. Vehicle maintenance, I'm gonna leave it the same. But every year we spend almost $20,000 on it. If you go to page,
20,000?
we're about 20. If you go to page 23, I have a breakdown of everything we've spent this year on that. It comes out to $20,155 already. But if you look at the last 2 years, page 22, those 2 charts, 46% both years. See that big chunk right there? That's the ladder truck. We've had to replace almost every piston on that thing at about $8,000.
How old is that ladder truck now?
34 years old. Wow. It's an 85. Yeah, 34 years old. So I'm hoping that the 14,000 will be enough if we don't have to replace the piston in the ladder truck. How about that? And we're running out of pistons that we have to replace. This year it was the 30-foot long extended, the piston that extends it out. The last couple years, it was the outrigger jacks. But like I said, I included a breakdown of every expenditure this year, how we came up with the $20,000. As you know, the night we were sitting in the meeting, we spent $2,100 on getting the ambulance repaired.
Mm.
And then we spent $1,200 on an EGR valve on the forestry, which is only 4 years old, that was out of warranty, even though we called and tried to get that covered. I don't think we talked about that. Equipment maintenance, that's gonna stay the same, $7,500. Equipment purchase is gonna stay
So
the same.
that was overexpended last year by 2288.
Yeah, and it probably again this year. I think you just never know what's gonna break. In the last few years, it's been something.
So if you're anticipating that to be more, why are
The
you?
thing is, I'm not really anticipating these things. It's things that I'm trying to think. Like this year, one thing this year, we repaired the OHRV. I believe that's in there, about $2,500, and I charged it to equipment maintenance. I might transfer that to vehicle maintenance. And if you take that out, or
Then you'll be.
then I'm kind of where I needed to be.
Yep.
Yeah, well, then you'll be over on vehicle maintenance, because you spent
Which I'm over
$20,000
on
last
that.
year.
Every year. I don't know. I'm rolling the dice. I know I am, but
The fireworks.
Sounds like a giant. But,
The trailer just turned up on Dawson Street.
the thing is, if
wow.
it's a couple big things that push it over the top. So if those don't break, then those numbers should be right to maintain everyday stuff and do PR. PM, sorry. Equipment purchase, 16.5. That's what it's been for several years now. The equipment lease is the coffee machine. That's the same. Mileage and travel is the same. Miscellaneous is the same. And on-call for the per diem, the night coverage is currently the same. Again, that's one of the ones where if you do the math, it comes to $35,000, but that was a warrant article for $26,000 probably 10 years ago, and we've just left it the same, and it's always worked out. If I've gone over a little bit, I've found different spots to cover it, and usually I'm under a little bit. I think that'll be all right, because the full-time people that are on call get paid out of the full-time line, and they're taking a lot of nights.
Big trailer in it.
Don't really sound like a trailer.
Continuing to go.
So. Normally, at the end of each presentation, I'll ask each one of you, if you had to make cuts, where would you make them? But we just had a conversation. You're knowingly going to be, not knowingly,
Historically, trending.
historically trending, you're going to be short.
Well, I'm going to be short this year.
Chairman?
So Rich has left the room, so I'd make my cut in Rich's budget.
It's a $36,000 increase, Mike.
Mhm.
I increased what I felt like I needed to increase and didn't feel comfortable asking for any more than that this
Right,
year.
and there's still some unknowns. You're still into, even though you moved in January, there were a lot of unknowns getting in there 3 months into it. You still got 2 months more to go, but you haven't really put a winter into it either.
Not a full one.
So, I mean, that's where I'm going with this.
Mm. I mean, a lot of these increases is, you know, the salaries, FICA, Medicare, and then New Hampshire retirement. You're looking at 9,
It's 46,
14,
46%
15,
of the
16.
of the whole
You're looking at
increase.
$20,000
Right.
just there. I mean, so we knew the electricity was gonna go up because we weren't, you know, we
The
didn't
heat
know.
was gonna go up, yeah, all of that.
So I think this is a fair budget.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah.
You mind if I make a
Agree with-
motion?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the new fire EMS budget at 36,034.23.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So you did say 443,
I said,
443,437
an
dollars.
increase of the 36, yeah, the total
Okay.
budget increase of 437.49.
Okay.
Do you want to do the emergency
It's about
management?
8. And last night when I looked at it.
Do you want to do emergency management?
Yes, it's all the same, except for the electric line at $1,000.
Okay.
All right. We
What
can
about-
have for a balance there.
Do you want to do emergency management then?
Uh-oh.
What? You don't need it? Okay.
Is that just DMD?
AMD management.
Is it still in this pack?
I forgot to add it. I'm
It's,
sorry.
it's what? Is that
So
right?
4290?
4,000.
Yeah,
It's,
Plus FICA, Medicare,
right.
and I
Is there
added
any increase?
$1,000
4290?
for the electric for
Is
the
that
it
the-
is,
site.
oh yeah, 4290.
Okay.
Maybe you said you had that earlier.
Yeah. So
Emergency management. Just a different line.
Is that what we're doing next?
Yeah. It's one of the little ones. Do you want to make copies of it?
what's that?
Do
You
you?
should be in.
Okay, I thought you guys had copies. You know the budgets I gave you last time in your packet?
I'm sorry?
So there's a lot of stacked paper in there.
Yeah, it is.
So it wasn't.
Okay.
It's in your
Are you-
packets.
Are you gonna go over it, Nick, or?
Right here.
Okay,
This right here.
okay, go for it.
It's all the same.
Slow down there, for crying out loud.
Except for the $1,000 for the repeater.
Right.
You just talked about. So it's an increase of $1,000. That,
Yeah,
that
so it's
stipend's
up to
been,
that because of that $1,000. Yep.
the stipend's been the same going back before
Right.
I remember. 10, 12, 13, 14 years. That's it.
Okay. Do you want,
Thanks, Nick.
do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency management budget
You know, it actually
with the
go up anyway.
increase of $5,308.
Hasn't gone up.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Someone go.
I know, but did the rate go up?
No, if I could invoke its retirement, the one.
1770.
Okay, you're right. Come on, thank you.
Do you want to do any more budgets tonight or not? You want to do Walker? Do you want to do mine? We've got
It's
Danielle
from
here.
welfare.
We can do mine. We can do whatever.
Do an easy one.
Small.
Yeah, and then that's it. I'm done after that.
Okay. I got,
Do you want to make copies for welfare? It's your budget. Oh yeah, they're in there. That's right. Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
No index.
Oh, let her do it. Come on down.
let her do it.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, she does.
Do you need a copy of it?
I have it in my office.
What are the,
Where is it in here, Heather?
It should be in the, it's numbers, it says welfare 2018 budget and it should look like 4445120.
It's in there. You just got-
I know, it would be nice to have them.
I put them in order based on the order that they are listed within the expenditure reports, not order as in however you're gonna pick and choose when you present them.
oh, Mike, if we
That's
had
what
that
the
thing in
order
the
is.
front, we would be
Right,
all
right,
set.
huh?
Yeah, where is it?
I don't know, I didn't look this up.
What was that?
He's promised me a list in the front.
And I have
what
it.
page
Hold on.
all of these things are going to be on, because I keep going back at the budget committee meetings going,
Is it?
what, oh, where's that
Is it
one?
Milton's up there?
I'll just make a separate photocopy.
So much fun. And I get to go through this all again,
I'm gonna do that one.
Yeah.
All right.
but this is good for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can share.
We'll
Very
share.
exciting.
We'll share.
Okay. Floor's yours.
Actually, I should probably do the first one. I'm doing the salaries for the person in charge. Okay, the first line is the welfare salaries, and that is a single person. It's a part-time position. So halfway through the year, we expect that possibly to change from with a COLA and a merit increase. So the budget last year was $29.46. This year was $18,538, and that's based on a cost of living raise. So that's what that is for 20 hours a week. Then FICA and Medicare is dependent on the salary line. And then the next line is training and membership. That's it. Well, you go ahead with that.
We now have membership with New Hampshire Local Welfare Administration Association, and they host trainings and seminars as well as your New Hampshire Municipal Association. So it's like a secondary training. Electric is staying the same. Heat, we dropped it down.
Okay, so do we want to, not to interrupt, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Do you want to talk about each line, or?
So on that training line, that's not, you're not paying that upfront first for the full year. You pay that as you go?
Mm-hmm.
The membership to the New Hampshire Local Welfare Administration Association is a yearly fee.
So
Your
it's-
training or seminars or workshops that you take beyond that membership, you get a discounted rate because you're a member. That's paid as you sign up and register for the courses.
Okay.
But it's like $30 to join.
It's like like $30
So
to
the
$40
dues is $30.
to join,
Yeah.
and then the trainings are typically $15 per.
Okay.
Okay, so then you said the next line was your electrical was 7,000.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna keep that
Mhm.
the same. I'd like to talk about this if you don't mind.
Oh, please.
So the electrical is 7,000. To date, we've used 1,200. I like to bring that line down to 5,500. I think that would be sufficient. Because we still have 5,700 in there, and what do you guys think?
Yep.
He's
give me
looking
a second.
expenditure
I'm trying
report.
to Get organized here.
No worries.
The expenditure, what line is the expenditure?
I know, he's only
Nine.
spent, or she's only spent 922. I don't know where he's getting his numbers.
On the electrical,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Thank you.
Oh, 12. Sorry. Sorry.
The only question I'd have with that is, I mean, we've got to be
We
careful
haven't reached the height of
the shutoffs.
Yeah, but we're already to the end of the year. And you
You'll have
saw,
new,
Right,
They
we're
already-
at the end of the year, but we haven't reached the height of
so what she's saying
requesting.
is come January, it's still cold out, going through February, March.
We're going November, December, it's gonna get real cold. Anyone with electric heat,
I know, but it shows,
guess who they get to visit?
it shows right in, it shows in, so we had 7,000 last year. Year to date, we've only spent 1,200.
But what did we spend
That,
last year?
well, this is last year. We've only
The year
spent,
before, sorry.
yeah, we've only spent $1,200.
Right,
So,
but this year isn't over yet.
no,
So
2 months.
last year, or year before, what did we
I
have
don't
in
have the
it?
expenses.
That wouldn't be it here. You know what I'm saying? Because if the
No,
last
I
two,
know,
if the
yeah.
last 2 months are
welfare expenses, usually, well, in electric, you get hit November, December, 2 reasons. Electric, fuel assistance doesn't kick in until December 1st, so you get the bills from the last couple of months. Fuel assistance is available on December 1st. That's one of the things. So that's a problem. And also the electric discounts.
Your expenditure is only gonna show
Okay.
to
You want
your
2015,
year-to-date, not,
right?
That's what he's looking for.
Sure.
Because we have 2016.
I can go.
That we
Yeah.
looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for what we spent. We don't have that, do we?
Mm-mm.
No.
No,
Used
but
to.
clearly though, we've budgeted for this year $7,000. We've only spent 1,200. We still have, you know, almost $5,800 left.
But we
I mean, I realize this is just gonna go back to the general fund anyways, but, you know, I'm even happy with bringing that line down to 6,000 instead of 5,500, dropping it to $6,000.
So
I mean,
7,000.
It looks like historically we budgeted 12,000 and we dropped it to 7.
Yeah, well, that's because
So-
we've done our due diligence and we just don't give free handouts anymore, or, you know,
No, we just do a better job at it.
yeah. That's by me saying we do our due diligence.
Yeah,
Um,
and because we search other
Other
sources.
resources that
Yeah,
are available.
Yeah,
We do referrals.
So what do you think, Mike?
I'll second it.
So what number are you using?
$6,000 for electricity. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Ms. Marie.
We have at 10,000.
Okay. So I'd like to actually drop that line down to 9,000, because we budgeted 11,500. We've used $900. We still have $10,600 almost in there. We could easily drop that down to $9,000.
Do we have any expectation on what I think we might spend for the rest of this year?
I'm not a meteorologist.
I like your answer.
Good for you.
Well, I would hope that we wouldn't spend anywhere near,
No,
$11,000. I can tell you that.
Again, this is the time, because fuel assistance doesn't kick in December 1st, you get people who, but this is the busier time of year for that. And also when fuel assistance runs out in the spring. But it's hard to predict what's going to come through the door.
I mean, I can see us spending $2,500 this
Propane's
year.
more expensive.
What's that?
And propane tends to be more expensive for this type of thing.
No, actually, it's not. It's cheaper.
not.
Oh, okay.
So,
But the people who use propane for the trailers seem to run through it more. That's what I think to run through.
so what do you think? 9,000?
I mean, if we drop it to 9,000, you're still only talking that this year. You think we're only spending a couple thousand, right?
Well, I'm saying maybe $2,500 in the next 2 months. You know, honestly, I don't know. But the thing is, I mean, I couldn't see us spending more than that. This line has been the same for a while, and it seems like we've had an abundance in the heat line in welfare. So
Well, I can see the direction you're going with this, but it's gone from 12.5 to 11.5 down to 10.
and again, that's because the welfare is doing their due diligence now,
Good job.
which is great. So,
Okay, moving on, and I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
What was your total?
9.
Heat's down to 9,000. Okay, so you're on to your rent and mortgages.
30?
30,000?
30,000? Yep.
Okay,
What do we pay for a rent?
so.
We dropped that 5,000 from last year.
So
Right,
rent,
I was looking at the year expenditure to date, 3,000.
we've spent $3,800. So my motion to, well, not my motion, but I was gonna suggest, we drop that line to 25,000 from 30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next,
Food we have at 1,000.
the food line, I actually was gonna talk about the food line. I actually was wanting to raise the food line, to 2,500, and I'll tell you why. Because, well, why don't you explain it? You took your tour up to
Yeah.
Wakefield.
I met with Howie Knight, who is the coordinator at the Wakefield Food Pantry. Him and Mickey, and I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. Mickey is a resident in town. They're kind of side by side, co-running things up there. They'll actually be coming in to the November 6th Selectmen's meeting to present their findings as of date. They came in June and presented to you their outreach to Milton to supply our residents another source of a food pantry.
Mhm.
To date, they're doing very well. I toured the facility and sat and talked with him for over an hour the other day, and it's a tight ship. I'm very impressed with how organized things are and how they do things. They have 19 families within the town from
the town,
Milton
no?
that they provide to,
Mhm.
which calculates down to 63 individuals. To last week's date, he's going to come in the beginning of November with his to dates and answer all of your questions then. They would like, because right now they have 5 different towns that they provide to. Milton is the second largest provider or providee currently, so they would be essentially coming to ask for some assistance in that as part of a contribution.
Right.
For,
As an
So,
outside agency?
yes.
As an outside agency funding request?
Correct.
so this food line then, we haven't expended anything out of it this year, but I guess I suppose it would be we actually should keep some of it in there.
When is he coming to speak?
The November 6th meeting.
Well, actually, we'll do that in outside appropriations. I was
That's right, yeah,
gonna,
he's got the form for that.
okay, that's why I was gonna maybe up this, to contribute to that organization, but we'll do that in outside.
That's the right way to do it, though.
Yeah,
Outside appropriation.
right.
Yeah, so just leave that line alone.
All right, so do you want to leave the food line that we haven't expended anything out of it? Do you want to just leave it at 1,000?
Yep.
Okay. Next.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
We have medical at 2,000.
Okay.
Office supplies at 300.
That's an increase of
Sorry.
it's okay.
Medical went up $1,000.
'Cause it shows in the expenditure report that you had budgeted for
1,000.
1,000, but
But we've only used a.
893.
yeah, 893, yeah.
Yeah. So we only have $100 in that line. So you brought it up $1,000.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which,
No,
if you look back
Was that
into
it?
16, it was
the
at.
medical has 1,000, this is they've expended, they have year-to-date left $893, they've only expended $106 out of it for medical.
Well, no, they got a remaining of 106.
Yeah.
They've spent.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
right, yeah.
If you look back from 2016,
I mean what you know,
it
that's,
was
yeah.
at 3,000. We dropped it, and then we're bringing it back up to more of an even.
Okay.
So it's still, is that $1,000, right? No, but
So
wrong line,
Two.
never mind.
2,000.
Yeah, 2,000, yep.
Is that all right?
Yep, I'm good, yep, thanks.
Office supplies staying at 300. Postage at 100,
Mhm.
which is relevant to last year as well.
Mhm.
Equipment at 200,
Mhm.
mileage at 100,
Okay.
and miscellaneous would be at 2,500, which includes the final expenses, including your clothing, and 7,500 for burial service.
Mhm.
$66,396.16, is that what it is?
That's what I'm double checking.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I got.
66,396.16. Yeah,
Okay.
So it's an increase to.
You all set, Andy?
I'm all set.
it's dropped.
Mr. Ryan?
Yep, I'm all set.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the welfare budget, the new welfare budget, at $66,396.16.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question now before we go any further. Do we want to do any more? I could do the insurance and benefits one. Which one is that?
Economic Development Committee?
Okay, do you have that one done? Done, yes, okay. You want to do that?
Is that what you guys? So as you know, the budget for last year was $2,500, and it was for the UNH Cooperative Extension. We're on the list.
What numbers are we on?
We've been accepted, we're on a list, so the money hasn't been expended. What I'd like to do is encumber that money for $2,500 for that year. Number one. Number two, the new budget for explore economic grants and opportunities, as well as conducting mailings to existing commercial residents. And that would be for $1,500 on the line 395. And I don't know why this doesn't have a line or a line number item on it.
So what, you're just gonna, so you're not gonna request the 2,500?
Yeah, I'm gonna
You're just
encumber
gonna
it.
encumber it?
I'm gonna encumber it because, like I said, we're on a list, it just hasn't been, our ticket hasn't come up yet
Okay,
for that, so it's as good as spent.
right.
I
But it's,
want to encumber it.
okay, can you encumber it in December?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
when we do the encumbrances.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And again, a new budget, 2,500, we split up between the economic development consultant fees, grants, opportunities, and business mailings to the UNH. And at economic development section to the Milton's master plan.
Right. No, I think it'll be great when it happens.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully it's coming there.
So what do you think, Ryan?
Yep, so you're gonna add,
Yeah.
you're adding a new line. for the
Okay, so I'm not gonna
$1,000.
talk about the incumbents right now, wait till December, but I wanna, economic development committee's, budget for $2,500.
I'll second it. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
So get rid of the professional services.
Did you want to?
Or do you want, it's 8:10, do you want to just continue on?
I don't know, do you want to do mine? Do you want to do just my insurance and benefits? What do you want to do? Or do you want to just stop doing budgets and just finish the meeting?
I think we should stop doing budgets and finish the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to do insurance and benefits? Because mine's so little. I mean, the insurance and benefits is just such a little one. Do you want to do that one?
Stop the meeting and continue, stop the budget and continue with the meeting.
Okay, I'll do that. Can I just ask which ones you want to do next week, so I can get a plan for that?
Well, we have highway,
Okay, so you want to do that
The rest of
Monday?
them.
yeah, we went through them quite,
We went through
Tonight.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tonight. Okay,
We'll do the rest of them next week,
you'll get them all done next week.
sure.
how many are there?
Next week or the next meeting?
Next week, we're going to have a work session, just a work session on a regular meeting. Assessing, budget committee, budget, conservation, economic development, we just did.
that.
Yep, I didn't highlight that one. So we did 7. I'm highlighting them as we go. Government buildings and highway government buildings the next week. Insurance benefits, that's mine. Library. Moderator's small one.
Yeah.
We haven't got the outside appropriations back. Planning.
You're looking at quite a few hours if you do
Yeah.
all one night.
Well, there's a lot of them
You're
is,
gonna need a couple hours for me alone.
Planning and code, planning board, recreation, sewer, solid waste and recycling supervisor, the check collects, town administrator, treasurer, and then the warrant articles we've got figured out
do you
too.
want to have a special meeting, special?
We've got 2 more coming up.
We
right?
have
We've
the
got
work session, workshop
and then we have
next.
another BOS meeting.
Yeah,
So we ought to split that in half.
right, that's what I'm
Have Pat
saying.
come in on the workshop,
Have Pat come in on
just for
the-
the workshop, because we needed quite a while to cut his up pretty bad.
So,
CDA is under planning.
Yeah, CBA.
so yeah, they're on a plan. Okay, so do you want Pat and I to do next week?
All right, now that'd be it, those are 2 big budgets.
Right, so let Pat and I do next week, and then all the little ones will be in recreation the following week. How's that?
Does that sound?
Yep.
Does that work? You and I? You and I next week, and then everybody else, 6 o'clock?
Is the workshop only gonna take 1 hour?
No.
Well, we're coming at 5, right?
Yeah, well, that was our non-public.
Right,
Yeah.
So we could do the non-public, and then,
okay.
is that
We need
okay?
a whole- we need a whole hour for non-public?
We could do 5:30
Yeah,
for the non-public.
5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
5:30 for that, okay. Start at 5:30, and then we'll get ours done.
5:30.
Okay. Okay, so everybody else will be done on the 6th of November, correct?
Okay.
That's the plan. All right. Okay,
All right.
now we've got the rest.
So, approval of the minutes.
Okay, there's a couple corrections.
Yep.
So I want to,
What's that?
Corrections on it. I mean, Peg just got
Where's
Peg
this
just,
from?
Peg. She was reading.
Okay.
Misspelling of names.
yeah, ready?
Yeah, just to spell of 2 names.
Also, even though it was recorded correctly, I used the word flagger, and I should have used the word crosswalk. For Halloween night,
Crossing guard.
yeah, crossing guide. I mean, it's
Flagger crossing
just
guard.
so,
It all works.
yeah.
It's fine.
So I'll make a motion. Have you read them, Ryan?
Yep.
You're all set? Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the October 2nd, 2017 minutes as corrected.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it's just the 2 names. Do you have a? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
All right. right, so up next, we have the treasurer's report.
Did you all got a copy of it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not gonna comment on it.
You guys all set with it?
Yeah, I'm all set with it. I've already read it over. And
Any questions, Brian?
No.
Brian?
No.
what is it?
What's that?
What is it?
What is what? State your name?
Larry Brown.
Yeah.
We have a treasurer. What is it?
We're talking about the treasurer's report, Larry. I asked Ryan if he had any questions about it. Sufficient? Okay, moving on to the expenditure report. Okay,
We're going over for like the last hour anyway.
right.
We've
Do you have any questions, anything that you want to add to
been
this?
playing with, we're still finding, the chief and I, as I said, we talk on Friday, it seems like every week, we're still finding things in the WEX. And we're still working with getting the bugs out. One of the problems we've been having is, I think realistically with 3 people working on some of the bookkeeping functions, it's been hard because, like someone said to me, well, I thought X was going to do it, and then someone said to me, well, I thought X was going to do it. So it's everybody tripping over everybody trying to get these things fixed.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
What did you say?
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
So that's been one of the problems we're having, but we're trying to get it narrowed down because we know how important it is.
Yeah, but moving forward, we're not gonna have these issues. I mean, we have Vanessa that's doing a great job, and, I think
So
we're
we're
on
gonna put
the,
this on the follow-up, so every meeting,
We keep, yep.
mention it, and see how much further along we are to being more accurate with this expenditure report.
And I think we're getting there, but just not there yet. And it's one of the ongoing frustrations that we all are feeling. And I think, I know, for instance, the chief comes in and he says, this is in the wrong place. He's probably the most frustrated. And then the other
So
problem.
Joanne's been working with Vanessa with this too, right?
Joanne's been working with it too, but
This is her program, right?
this is her program.
Okay.
But again, there's too many people that are trying to do it, and they're adjusting entries, and we've even had people do adjusting entries twice because somebody did it, then somebody undid it, then somebody did it. It's just there are too many people. Again, there are too many people fixing things.
yeah, but this has happened though, like 8 months ago, or this just didn't happen.
No, but we had
No.
5 months where we had no.
I'm sorry?
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, we had
So-
5 months without a bookkeeper, and then it snowballed.
But it sounds like we're still having an issue with
No.
too many people are trying to fix it.
No.
So maybe your position, delegate it to just the people that should be touching it.
And that's what we're trying to really, I think we worked on it, but then this last 2 weeks I've said, okay, we've got to have all hands on deck on budget. And now it's, okay, now we've got budget kind of handled, now we've got to fix this, so.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something in the way.
And then now we're going to be getting into tax season, tax setting. But we're working on it, so. But we know the problem. So.
All right. Administrative comment.
I attended the first time I went to the cemetery meeting with John Catwick, and he had 5 towns there represented. And I think we don't always appreciate all John Catwick does for the town of Milton. He is chief cook and bottle washer in a lot of different areas. He goes out and sounds the graves. He sometimes digs the graves. He keeps all the administrative records. He does everything. And it was, all the different towns have a sexton, they have a clerk, they have finance people who keep track of all the different aspects of it. And as he's thinking of stepping back and having the trustees take on something or some other people, it's amazing the costs that are involved of all the work as he's done as a volunteer. So we listened to some of what the area towns do and the costs involved in doing that. We also talked about, there was also a lot of communication about what different software programs they use to keep track of their graves. He had initially budgeted some money for a software program for this year. He's decided not to use that software program, but he was listening to what the other ones were going to use, other programs other people use, and he thinks he's going to go with something like that. So that's kind of the plan for next year. They have another meeting coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on with the cemeteries. So that's a very important role. I think we've always kind of been grateful to have them, but there's a lot going on there.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
There's a lot going on in a lot of departments, and I think we'll speak more about that next meeting.
Okay. All right. Selectmen's comments. Mr. Tebow.
I don't have too much, but this is my first budget season. Appreciate all the help. Everybody's been supportive. Looking forward to working with everybody as we go forward.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Mike?
So, another follow-up. The old fire station deed. Where are we at with that?
We have hired an appraisal company. I talked to them today, actually. They are going to come out, I think, Wednesday. Did they call you?
Yeah. Tomorrow at noon, I believe, is what they said.
Oh, okay. They told me Wednesday, but...
Yeah. They called me late this afternoon.
Yep.
I'm not clear on what the lieutenant will be up to.
Yeah, I told them you were going to be gone the end of the week, so the sooner they got out, the better. And so they're working on getting their the appraisal done. And then as soon as they get the appraisal done, that's part of the whole process to get us going on that.
Thank you, Heather.
Yes.
It's important we need to get that done. We've already sold that building.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, that would be all for me, Mr. Ross.
Okay. I have just a few things. October 31st in Milton is Beggar's Night, Trick or Treat, whatever you want to call it. It's from 5 to 8. You need to post a meeting for that night for us, please, because Mike and I are going to be helping out here, and if Ryan's not busy, that's fine. If he is, that's fine too. It's
I'm
all.
not sure if I'm going to make it or not. I don't think I'm going to, but...
Yeah, that's fine.
I had a costume all picked out for you.
Did you? Do I dare ask what it was?
I'm asking Henry Ford.
So that's Trick or Treat. So that'll be a fun night. And then this Saturday is Trunk or Treat down at the town beach from 5 to 8. We really need volunteers to come support Trunk or Treat. I don't know how many cars we have that's in Trunk or Treat. So if anybody's interested, just get a hold of Karen Brown. See if and she'll get you a application. But we'd love to have some volunteers to decorate their cars and bring them down. And so we have extra. It's just a fun night for the kids and safe, and she has a whole thing planned out for pumpkins and whatever else she has going on. But it's going to be fun. So if anybody's interested in decorating a car, I know Shell. Look at her; she's.
We've been chit-chatting already about it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We'll see.
Nice. We do need some vehicles. It's fun. So I'll be there and. Anyway, so I do want to thank. I was driving through town and saw the the Legion picking up roadside trash. Was it last weekend? VFW. I apologize. VFW, and I just wanted to. I saw you, and I just wanted to thank you guys. I mean, that's.
Yeah, we do it 4 times a year.
4 times a year. Yeah. So I know I saw Doug shoot up here, and you were down towards the transfer station, but I don't know who else was doing it. But thanks a lot. It just shows you how much you love our community. So that's nice. And the other thing I have is the Casey Road Land Protection Committee is going to be doing a walk on December 2nd, It's a kind of like a little promotional walk. If anybody's interested in going, it's where the land forest is off of Casey Road. They're gonna do a little walk, and they have a presentation. Justin will be will be there. So if you're interested, December 2nd.
What time, Andy?
Did they say what time, Justin?
Hasn't decided yet.
They haven't decided the time, but I'll get back. I'll make sure. We got a month and a half,
Okay.
so. But I just wanted to throw it out there, so people can come and see what's going to be done with that property and how, we are moving forward with it, and good things are happening over there. So finally, it'll be nice when it's done. Be nice. People would go out and walk. I mean, this is what people wanted. They put it on a warrant article and they passed it with a majority. So we'll get it done. But other than that, I think that's all I have. You have anything, Bob? Okay. All right. So up next is we have public comments. Betsy.
I have two things. First of all, the treasurer's report, does that get published anywhere? Does it go on the bulletin board or anything like that?
Does it go on our website or? No.
Not at the present time, anyway.
Okay.
Because I think what the question was, Larry's question, if I could assume, that he wanted to know what was in the report.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not a very good mind reader. If that's what he was looking for,
I can provide it in a little bit.
What's that?
I can provide it in a little bit. I just have to do something.
Okay. We'll take care of that for you. Your second question?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to let you all know that the library will have its annual kids' Halloween party on the 28th at 10:30.
Oh, the 28th of this month? 10:30?
Yes.
Okay. So the Halloween party is at the 28th of this month at 10:30, if anybody didn't hear Betsy, at the library. So, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next? Larry?
Yeah, thank you. Easy stuff first. The paving up at the transfer station is glorious. If nobody else has mentioned it for the public meeting, let me be the first. The joke I offered when I was up there was, you no longer have to worry about the employees wanting a raise. They will be so happy not to be walking in that stinking mud.
Yeah.
But it is nicely done and a real pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
For housekeeping, could you clearly note for the budget committee through contact with the town attorney that the present structure of the town vote, which includes the raise and appropriate of the bottom line budget and the department totals, is the equivalent of providing for the raise on a separate warrant article for elected officials? There was a question came in on that, and also to have the information available to the budget committee regarding the police line item, so that it is very clearly understood that the monies will be properly accounted for and go back into the general fund after advice from council, so that there are no problems there. And on the other one, just on the treasurer's report, the content, what conclusions it drew, what topic it discussed, was an action recommended, which accounts were reviewed, where there are discrepancies or unaccounted funds, and does the public know that through the town clerk's office for the last 10 years, there is a full record of all legal judgments against the town. That's the one. The other one is given the present integration of the school board with the Board of Selectmen, this is a good place to note there will be a school board meeting Wednesday at 6 p.m. It is presently scheduled for the community room. I checked with Dana. This room is available. I checked with Bob Carrier. He is available for videotaping. This will be a public meeting to bring an interim board member on board until March of 2018. Those names are a matter of public record. They were not released by the chairman of the board. The interviews and the discussion of the board itself will be a public meeting. They are not public employees. They do not have the rights of confidential review. The question the observation is that the school board has until 5 p.m. tomorrow night to move that meeting here so the public can see what questions are asked and what answers are given. Peg. It's Tim,
Excuse me.
Jesse, Larry. Barbara has dropped out. Who's the other person? Do you know?
All right, give me those names again.
Tim.
Tim.
Larry.
Larry.
Jesse. Barbara dropped out. Who's left? Name I just forgot.
A new one?
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, I'm sorry, did not know anything about the person, so.
Okay.
All right, so you were telling me then perhaps I should let Doug know that.
The school board is fully capable of making its own independent decisions. I'm offering it as a member of the public.
All right, I'm.
The questions were put to the school board regarding are the applicants members or attendees of community boards and public meetings? Do they have any interest by culture, family experience, or personal belief which would be adverse to their responsibilities to public education, which is science-based, ADA and civil rights compliant, and committed to a policy of inclusion and least restrictive environments? And there are more, but that gives you, again, like the Treasurer's report, one more example of public access, public information, public review.
Very good. Appreciate it. So, any other business that maybe come before the board? Go ahead, Peg.
Just keeping with school business.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is going to be a spaghetti dinner at Newt Cafeteria this coming Friday night, put on by the Friends of Newt, and everything that they raise, they put back into the beautification of Newt. There's music by the group Bradigan, Celtic music. Anyway, from 5 to 6:30 is the dinner, and the music is from 6:30 to 8. Adults are $10, students $6, and under 6 free. So anyway, just another volunteer group in town that is doing good work.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good, Chief.
So, normally we'd wait to put it on the agenda, but the body cameras that I talked to you guys about, I'd rather not wait another 2 weeks for the next meeting. Because if I wait another 2 weeks, then it's going to be a month before they come in. I have received the quote. The quote is $8,947 to replace all of the body cameras for the department as well as the docking stations. So I'd like to get approval from you guys to purchase those, and I'll find the money in my budget.
Oh, you don't have a line in here for it?
I have equipment purchase line, but
Yeah.
it's only $6,200, so
And you need
I'll find
what?
$8,976.
So I'll find the money in there. I just need approval from you guys because it's over the $5,000 number that the town administrator can approve.
Okay. You wanna make a motion, Mike?
Sure. You all set with that, Ryan?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the chief to purchase his body cameras with $8,976.
It's $976. To $9,000. Just gives me that. I'm under the $9,000, but.
Right. Due to time restraints, so.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, we good?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.